All right, welcome back everyone for the main card reaction to UFC 285. This was Jones versus Gane, in case you've been living under a rock. Now, I'd had a really nice start to this card, as you know if you followed the prelims. I started off essentially at 8-1, only lost a Rajo fight, which I told everyone not to parlay anyway, so I'm cool with that. Told everyone to distance play it, which it landed. So technically I went 9-0 in picks to start this card out, which I have never done on the channel. So yeah, now big risks were taken in this section of the card, so let's see how it played out. Now, first of all, regardless of what happens on the main card and what I'm going to go into here, what a great card this was so far. Everything leading up from the pre-prelims to the main event was really amazing to watch, apart from the Cody fight, I guess, or parts of it, which nearly fucked the whole thing up. But this card is really what the UFC should be all about, and maybe the greedy little shits need to have less cards, maybe once a month like they used to, and just go for quality over quantity. It would obviously torpedo my channel for a bit, but that would be fine with me if I had better fights and better cards to watch. And I'm sure most of you would agree with that. Alright, fight 1 on the main card. I called Nickle by 187, or Murder, to any of you unfamiliar with American police codes, or those who haven't seen Demolition Man. Now, he might look like a ginger, pasty little prick, but this man is legit. And I felt going into this, if he loses to Jamie Pickett, this will represent the biggest deflation of a hype job in UFC history. It was that bad a matchup for me on paper. He came in as a minus 1,800 favorite. They are taking the piss. So anyway, fight starts. He went in for a kick and immediately fell on his ass. Then Nickle runs up to him and knees him right in the bollocks. Now, fortunately for him, this doesn't get seen. You could see Jamie Pickett gasping out and saying, "Why isn't it being stopped?" And before he could gather his thoughts on what had happened, Nickle picked him up, threw him down as I predicted, dumped him down on the floor, and immediately started trying to choke him. Now, it did take him a minute or two to find the right position. He laid an arm around him, he was squeezing pretty hard, couldn't find the right position, readjusted, found the space underneath the neck, and yeah, just strangled him, and Pickett's eyes looked like they were popping out of his skull. Now, to be honest, as impressive as this was in some people's eyes, this really did nothing for me. Immediately on commentary, Rogan started rimming him off, because of course he does. Now, Pickett, for me, has a right to be mad after the uncalled bollock shot. But to be fair to him, as soon as the fight was over and they were standing next to each other for it to be announced, he shrugged it off, and he's going to be rewarded with a pink slip in the mail tomorrow. Now, it's hard to tell how Nickle will stack up against people that can actually fight, but it was a nice start for me, I guess. I guess Nickle's just going to be allowed to kick people in the bollocks. I don't think it would have mattered anyway, I guess. Pickett was out there to make Nickle look good, and what a pointless fight this was. I feel a little bit ashamed taking this win, kind of, but woo, 9-1, baby. Okay, now the main card can actually start. Now, as I said in the build-up, this was a very nice matchup on paper. Jalen the Weight Bully takes on Matthias Gamrot, who people who know me and occasionally pop into this channel know I'm really high on. This was really about finding out if Turner has really leveled up and is a genuine threat or not. I mean, fuck me, as the fight started, I saw he's actually listed at 6'3", which is actually the same height as John fucking Jones. What a prick. Now, Gamrot started by going in for shots and dipping out. The commentary mentioned at this point that Turner had mentioned that he had expected Hooker, who was his original opponent, to take him down, which kind of drew a chuckle out of me. Turner was playing it smart though at range, and I didn't love that at the start for Gamrot. Now, just as I started to worry, Gamrot, like a Don, timed a really nice double leg, dragged him down, and started climbing the prick like a ladder. He pushed him up against the fence, and in a really weird moment, Gamrot started like pulling his shorts down, and we were in serious danger of seeing our first UFC dick reveal, at least my first UFC dick reveal. There may have been a few in the past that I may have overlooked. Now, Turner managed to climb back onto his feet, which I was really impressed with, and he did a great job of breaking away, framing, and hitting a nice knee on the exit. Gamrot then took him down again with what looked like a really sloppy takedown, but apparently looking back at the replay, he got caught as he was coming in. Now, either way, he smartly gripped on and fell into mount, so should that really be scored, considering he fell into top control? Gamrot got a few shots off, but Turner gets up again. I had it as 1-0 Gamrot, I guess, but the danger of Turner was pretty clear. Now, looking at the live odds, they clearly had Turner as the favourite now, which was a bit surprising to me, but I guess they gave him the knockdown. Gamrot clearly was struggling to close the distance, but he did a really smart thing here, started kicking at the legs, which was a really good strategy. Jalen was teeing off a little, and Gamrot emerged from one of the skirmishes with a bit of a cut on the eye. Now, he hit another nice double leg, and he locked in a crucifix towards the end of the round and started applying massive ground and pound. He was firing elbows, shots on the ground, and massive damage was being done. Should have been enough to win the round, so I had it 1-1 or possibly 2-0 Gamrot. Now, the third round kicks off and Jalen tries to stuff a takedown, but Gamrot kind of forces through and takes him down, which was huge for him at this point. Can you hear the bias, by the way? Maybe I need to lay it on a little bit thicker. I'm like 5'8" in heels, and I weigh more than Turner does on weigh-in days. Anyway, Jalen managed to get a whizzer from this, but Gamrot stuck to him. Now, what really pissed me off is Mark Smith decided to break this up, and this would happen a few times in this main card, which I'll get to later, and was a horrible decision. Now, while they were standing, Gamrot got caught, and I was starting to smell a robbery in the air. I was thinking, they've put the fight deliberately back in Turner's wheelhouse. It kind of feels like he's the golden boy at the moment. Anyway, Turner went in for a silly jumping knee, and Gamrot ended the fight on top, ground and pounding. Now, I was talking to my cousin about this as it happened, and he had it for Turner. And to be honest, the more he made his case, the more unsure I was. Shout out to you, Daniel. So it ended up being a split decision for Gamrot, which ended up being the call. Honestly, I thought Gamrot won, but I'm always going on about damage. It can be argued that Gamrot took more damage in the first and in the third, despite the control time he had. He did take the fight on short notice and managed to pin down a very long, huge man who has no business fighting at 155, so fuck it. I'm taking it. And I'm going to 10-1. Now, I said this one would be close, and I felt a little bit skeptical about this one, despite how much I rate Shavkat. Now, in typical bullshit fashion, Neale missed weight quite badly. I think it was by 4 or 5 pounds, and there didn't seem to be any excuse for it. He didn't mention anything about having troubles in the camp or in the weigh-ins. He did have surgery a few months ago, which may have obviously affected his build-up, but either way, it's not great. Now, one thing I did point out in my prediction pick was that I really hated the odds on this one. Shavkat was listed as a 6-1 favorite, which was clearly too wide, and I felt that this would be closer than people were expecting. I also watched a video that the MMA Guru circulated I think it was a week ago, showing Shavkat having some weak moments and getting dropped and coming back from it. Anyway, regardless of that, I'm really high on Shavkat, and I picked him, and the weight miss kind of added extra flavor to me hoping he would get the win, and goddamn, what a fight this was. I had this as fight of the night at this point, pipping Brunson and Duplessis. Rachmanov hit an early head kick and got into a clinch early. This was definitely not where Neale wanted to be. Then Shavkat was hitting nice knees. Now, this was something that happened throughout the entire fight. Shavkat was constantly going to knees up the middle, catching Neale in the midsection. Now, you might see this as a dirty play because obviously it's common knowledge that Neale recently had surgery, but again, very smart in terms of the strategy. Now, during the first round, both men were landing hard down the pipe. Shavkat again going to the body. Now, at some point in the middle of the round, Shavkat took a shot and lost his mouth guard, and Herb Dean, who is looking more and more like an idiot to me by the day, he failed to notice it. Now, Shavkat didn't seem to give a shit. He didn't ask for the fight to be stopped. He just carried on fighting. He hit a massive head kick and cut Neale open. The issue of it is that you can really get your teeth smashed in those situations, and just something to pay attention to. I don't know how he missed it, but it took Rogan basically shouting at him from the commentary booth to tell him whether, and this was 2 minutes after it happened. Anyway, really good first round. I had Shavkat ahead. He was really impressive on the feet and had the more dangerous moments. He was picking shots. Now, when Neale sat down on the stool, he asked what he got caught with, which to me was not a good sign, and I think he was referring to the head kick. Now, Shavkat looked really crisp on the feet, and this continued into the second. Neale did really well. By the way, Neale's takedown defense in this fight, hugely impressive, but he was clearly losing the fight on the feet, which kind of surprised me. Shavkat seemed happy to fuck the body up. He went up top with punishing elbows. He was mixing it up with teeps to the stomach. Neale was firing back at times and hitting some massive shots. Shavkat was basically eating them and started plowing forward. Again, more investment to the body. Now, I have to give credit to Neale. He had some really good moments in this fight. He slightly wobbled Shavkat at one moment in the second, who basically shaked it off, refreshed his programming, and just went back to work. Shavkat then teed off at the end of the round, looking like the lab experiment I said he was in the prediction. Now, the third round was, again, amazing. Shavkat hit some unbelievable head kicks, and I just thought it's a matter of time. He's going to knock his head off. But Neale, to his credit, like a warrior, he caught Shavkat with a swinging shot and hurt him. And Shavkat could clearly feel the danger. He looked a bit wobbled and got in close, which again demonstrates really smart fight IQ to me. Then suddenly Shavkat just went Super Saiyan and started barraging punches and elbows. I don't know how Neale stayed in the fight at this point. There were more knees to the body, and Neale was somehow still standing. I genuinely believed at that point that Neale would make it to the end and hand Shavkat his first decision. But then, out of nowhere, Shavkat locked up a standing choke, which was very reminiscent of what Jones did to Machida several years ago. So savage and so hard to pull off. The power you need to do that shit is crazy. Now, Shavkat choked him out, won by sub. Really nice win. He did call for a title shot, and I think he could be ready, but I think he's going to have to go through one more, and no one is going to want anything with this man. He's a monster. 11-1. What a fight. Full credit to Neale for making it the war that it turned out to be. Excellent fight, and was definitely fight of the night on a truly fantastic card up to this point. Ooh, okay. Again, I stated my opinion on this quite harshly. I really said I couldn't care less about this one going into this, but I'm going to try and take this on professionally. First round, Shevchenko hit a spinning back fist that was pretty nice. Nice roundhouse to the body. There were a lot of spinning attacks to start this one, and ironically, this would turn out to be her undoing. Now, Grasso did have nice moments as well. She managed to clip her, she hit a few huge rights, which wobbled the fuck out of Valentina at one point. I had this as a close round that could go either way. I edged it for Grasso because she seemed to do the most damage in certain moments, and Valentina looked the most rattled. So this made me sit up a little. I was thinking, okay, we might have a fight here. Then, second round came, and Valentina doubled her, took her down. All credit, the technique was excellent. She passed the side control, went for the neck, moved into a crucifix, and I was thinking, right, it's over. Usually when Valentina locks in that crucifix, it's game over. But, Grasso rallied. She used really nice defense, and especially nice use of the cage to escape. And we got back to the feet. And I'm thinking, we've got a fight here. Valentina remained calm, and with 2 minutes to go, she starts firing at range. Grasso was swinging shots from like 10 feet away. I really hate when this happens in women's MMA, where they try to look busy and they're kind of fainting, but it's like a mile down the road. Really embarrassing to see at this level. Anyway, Grasso flew in again, and Valentina just took her down again, tapping her with baby punches on top. Definite 1-1, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Twitter said it was, so I guess it was. There was a bit of delusional shit from Grasso's corner telling her that Valentina was gassed. Mate, robots don't gas. Yeah, silly wankers. Anyway, third round, stuff happened at the beginning. Valentina took her down again, laid on top. It was 2-1. That was basically the third round. There's nothing more else to really say about it. Oh yeah, there was actually. At one point, Herzog stood it up as Valentina was landing shots on top. And that to me was utterly disgraceful. She was literally raining down punches. And Herzog just stood it up and broke them. One of the shots ended up going through as he was breaking it up, which just shows how ridiculous it was. Anyway, Valentina ended up taking her down again. Really elite timing onto the fourth. Now, I bring this up because that could have been a contentious moment and maybe led to what happened next. Now, can someone explain to me how Shavkat can be so technically good, but just so fucking boring to watch? Maybe it's a competition, I don't know. I feel bad for saying that. Well, I should feel bad for saying it, but I don't. Now, I was almost falling asleep at this point, and suddenly we had a miracle. Now, at first I didn't know what happened because, as I said, I genuinely was dozing off at this point. I saw Grasso had taken the back and had locked in a rear naked choke. Now, Shavkat did her utmost to try and fight it and ended up tapping. So obviously I had to go to the replay, and that's when I realized it was a really fucking ridiculous spinning kick with horrid technique. It was so lazy, so stupidly done, and it was like God was just answering my question. It shows what happens when you lose focus for a second, even when you're that big a favorite. What a huge win for the division. Valentina was standing there looking like her software crashed. Like, I half expected her to grab the belt, like start rambling and then self-destruct. So yeah, Grasso is the new champ, and I still don't give a shit. This took me to 11-2, and for the banter, I'm pretty happy about this one. Alright, before I talk about this one in full, and I say full because holy shit. Now, people often talk about who the GOAT of the sport is, and while I do think it's a conversation that's genuinely stupid, there is something special about a Jones fight, a Jones card, and nothing outlines what the general community think of a fighter by who turns out and what the build-up's like, and literally everyone from the community was out for this one. I know McGregor's doing tough at the moment, but even he was out for it, and I can't remember when he was taken, when he last took time off doing whatever fucking silliness he's doing to turn up at an actual card. So the fact is, also it's for heavyweight, and despite how crummy the division is, that I think added to the special feeling of it. Now you'll notice I'm fruiting up the build up a little bit here. The reason for this build up is because this was an extremely quick fight. Now it started 7 seconds in, Gane hit Jones with a nut shot. Jones recovered pretty quickly. Then what instantly surprised me was Jones took the center and just marched forward and started pressuring. He had no fear. I did not expect that. He did look a little slow and sluggish, but with seemingly no effort at all, he literally ducked a punch, slipped around Gane, grabbed his back, took him down like he was a little baby. Massive moment. Then Jones locked a hook in, climbed to the back. Gane tried to readjust and back himself up against the cage. Jones just casually moved to the front, locked in the neck, and before everyone knew what was going on, Gane was tapping. And that's it. Jon Jones is the GOAT. Like, this was said on commentary. It was said, it's going to be said in post-fight interviews, I'm sure. He's the GOAT. That's the end of the conversation. What a destruction. To go up 50 pounds 3 years after you last fought, after having horrible performances against Smith to some extent, even though he dominated, against Dominic Reyes and against Thiago Santos, to come back after that and destroy Cyril Gane, who I thought was a little bit hyped, don't get me wrong, because his takedown defense was a little bit questionable, and I was genuinely shocked with how many people were picking Cyril Gane. What a destruction. I really don't think I have to say anything else here. I picked him to get it done, and yeah, they set up the fight with the Stipe interview afterwards. What a dull cunt he is. Jesus Christ. He obviously turned up there knowing he was going to pick the winner, and he gave the most uneventful, boring post-fight speech or post-fight build-up I've ever heard. Anyway, Jones kills Stipe, by the way. I know there were a lot of people talking in the post-fight about, oh, what a beautiful fight this is. It's going to be amazing. It's not. Jones is going to fucking murder him. And yeah, he's going to solidify himself as the GOAT. I reckon he has 2-3 more fights and then he's done. The king is here. All right, this took me to 12-2. I do believe this is my best record on a card this year. 12-2. And overall, for the year, couldn't believe this myself, it's now taken me to a record of 56-23, which means for the first time since the very first card this year, I've now gone above, just above 70%. I think it's at 70.3, something like that, which you're not going to find anywhere else. If you're a gambler, you're not going to see better odds than that. So this is the place to be if you want to get picks. And there's a large sample size. So to have 70% after 7 cards, and how many fights they've been, I think 79 fights, to have a 70% win ratio, can't complain about that. Anyway, thanks to all of you for sticking in. Please like and subscribe if you're new, as always. And yeah, I will be back on Tuesday to give a breakdown of next week's card. It's not great, I'm going to be honest with you, but I'll be there for it anyway. I'm going to keep this consistent. Again, sorry for the lateness on this one, but there was a lot to cover. Thanks to everyone, and yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday. In a bit.